This is Mike. Today we are going to talk about applying kick wax to your cross-country skis, how to choose the right wax, how to put it on, and all the great, beautiful details that go along with that. This is Mike. Today we're going to talk about waxing cross-country skis, and this is going to be kick waxing. So I've done two other videos about prepping your skis. This one, I'll put it here, up here. This is going to be how to put a base wax or glide wax on your cross-country skis. And if you use wood skis, which not many people are doing anymore, here's a link that'll tell you how to pine tar your wood skis. Now, what we're going to be talking about today is if you're classic, traditional cross-country skier, parallel skis. This isn't for skaters. This isn't for racers. So for people who like to go out and enjoy a day of skiing. So we're going to show you how to wax your skis. Doesn't matter if they're wood or if they're fiberglass. It's the same principle. So what first of all I would like to tell you about is why do we use wax? Now today most skis are waxless. Instead of using wax, there's fish scales or some type of mechanical contour in the bottom of the skis that grabs that snow to propel you. But before that, before the no wax, was wax skis. Why even bother with wax skis? Well, when you get the wax correct, it is so wonderful skiing. It's better than the no wax skis. I use both, but if you get the wax right, it is a damp, silky, smooth ride. So that's why we do it. Or maybe you got old skis and you have to use wax. So the idea with wax is that this is a really good variety of wax. You don't need this much wax. You probably really only need 3. If I had to pick 3, I'd probably pick these 3 for most skiers in North America. But this shows you the full variety of skis or waxes that are out there, from the coldest temperature wax up to the warmest temperature wax. Temperature wax, what's that all about? Well, let me tell you. How it works with wax is that we put a wax in this area of the ski, just in the middle under the foot. And what happens is, you can see that your skis have this camber. See that camber in there? When you are on your ski and your foot pushes down, it comes down in contact with the snow. Now the tips up there are always in contact with the snow, with the surface of the ground. And that's what you're sliding along on. But as you push, your foot comes down and pushes down on that snow right there, and the wax grabs that snow so that you can push back, and as you lift up, then you glide along. So the deal is that depending on the type of the snow, you need a different kind of wax, and here's why. We put the wax here, and wax is a crystal, or not wax, but snow is a crystal. And those crystal edges, you've all seen them as kids, they stick into that wax, and it holds on there as you do your kick. Now, when the snow is new and fresh, like this is pretty new and fresh. The temperatures right now are about 25, maybe 22 degrees. You see how fluffy and nice that is? Those crystals are sharp. So we're going to use a harder wax on this than if it was old snow or warm snow, where those crystals edges got dull and they don't stick into the wax. So it makes kind of sense, doesn't it? If you got real dull crystals, you need a softer, stickier wax to grab them. Well, you'd say, well, why not just use a sticky wax all the time? The deal is that if you have really soft wax, then the crystals of that snow will stick deep into the wax, and it won't glide on you. It just grabs too much. What we want to have happen is it sticks, you kick, it lets go. That's how we do it. Now, I'll tell you something interesting. Until about the 19 maybe 60s, you didn't have this great variety of wax. Guys, a lot of guys made their old wax, or made their own wax in the old days using using pine tar. I guess some of them used whale fat and different waxes, beeswaxes. This supposedly, my friend told me, came from the U.S. military, and this was a wax that was used, I guess, in World War II or the Korean War. But it definitely smells like pine tar. It's brown. And in those days, they had one wax for everything. You take it, you put, if the snow was wet, you put more wax on. And if the snow was dry, you put less wax on. Pretty simple, but not real accurate. I can't imagine those guys climbing mountains, skiing with heavy packs on, with really marginal equipment. It must have been something else. So, talking about wax now, I divide my wax, there's two groups. The warm snow group and the cold snow group. That dividing line to me is right about 22 degrees, right around in there. Once you get above 22, where the snow is getting a little bit softer, you go to your blues, purple, reds, and then finally clister. The wax is so soft it comes into a toothpaste tube. This stuff is awful. It's terrible to put on your skis, horrible to get off your skis, gets over everything, and it doesn't really work that well. This is when you get into temperatures 32 degrees, it's melting, it's warm out, but if you get stuck in the mountains and the conditions are changing, these are for temperatures that are around probably 20 degrees. Now we're talking Fahrenheit and below. Green, special green, and then what they call this polar wax. I don't know how much these waxes cost nowadays. I think probably close to 20 bucks each, where you can buy them maybe on eBay or something. One of these things will last forever. I have some of this stuff that I've been using since I was in high school. We're talking 40 years ago, and I inherited some from my dad that he was using. I'm still using it, so whatever, 20 bucks, big deal, right? Let's have a closer look at some of these waxes. Now, this wax over here is for the coldest temperature and the newest snow, and these waxes over here are for the warmest temperature and the wettest snow, and it's in that order of progression. So let's just take a new one and we'll look. You can see here that it tells us that this is for -7 degrees Celsius to 13 degrees Celsius, or in Fahrenheit about 19 degrees Fahrenheit to 9 degrees Fahrenheit. And each one of these waxes has that temperature on, -5 degrees Celsius to 15 degrees Celsius, which is of course 23 degrees Fahrenheit to 5 degrees. So you can see that as we go up, it's getting warmer and warmer, and then you can see here 32 to 35. Well, good luck with that. Anytime the snow starts to get wet, like melting, then it's really no good. This says it's good to up to 32, but this is the cork that I talked about. This cork is probably 35 years old. If you take care of it, they last a long time. This is a scraper. This is handy to have if you're out skiing and you find out that the wax that you have is too sticky. Maybe you made a mistake when you're putting it on, you guessed wrong, or maybe the temperature gets colder or it's snowing fresh snow while you're skiing. And in that case, you might want to stop and scrape off that wax and put some new wax on. So these are the waxes. You don't need all these waxes. Probably, if I had to pick, I would pick probably these 3 waxes: the green, the blue, and the red, if you're going to only pick 3 waxes. So when we're looking at snow and want to tell what wax to use, let's look at, this is fairly new snow, and you can see how fluffy that is. See how nice and fluffy that snow is? And then if we take it like this and we grab it and squeeze it and it still comes apart, that tells me that this is cold snow. So it's going to be maybe green or below. So, you know, it's, yeah, I would say green or below. Maybe if you put your blue on real thin, it might work. But this is fresh snow. And if you're out and you don't have a thermometer, you give the snow a kick, give it a little hit with your hand, pick it up, give it a squeeze, and see what's happening to it. If it's like this, it's going to be green or maybe white, or, you know, below. It won't be blue or purple or red. It will not be one of those colors. It'll be probably green or one of the waxes below that. Today I'm going to choose blue wax because I think that's the right wax for these conditions. Now there's two schools of thought for waxing. One is to take a harder wax. So let's say, for example, I was thinking maybe blue for what I'm thinking, but instead picking green and doing your whole ski. That's one way to do it, and it works. Another way that I think is more conventional is where you only wax the kicker area. And that's what I typically do, and that's what I'm going to do today. So I've already put on a base wax or a glide wax. I happen to use paraffin. It works for me in most of my conditions. It's comfortable. And I mark my skis. So for me, it's going to be approximately from, I'm going to say from about here to here. That's going to be my kick zone. Can you see that? Here's the binding here. So about here to here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line my skis up, and I'm going to draw a line on there with my wax so that when I go to wax it, I get it at the same spot. Now I'm going to put this on. The colder it is, the harder it is to get this stuff on. And what I'm doing, you can see I'm going in both ways. This is different from when you do your corking. We got to get it on there. So you see how I'm putting it? Yep, and it's a little bit clumpy. All right. You don't want to put too much on. You can always put more on, but if you got to take it off, oh, that's a mess, especially if you're on the trail. This is a cork. There's several different kinds. This happens to be a natural cork. There's also synthetic corks. And if you're in a pinch, you can use a piece of cardboard. You might even be able to use a piece of wood or even your bare hands if you're in a pinch. But this works great. And by the way, eventually that becomes impregnated with wax. Don't throw it away. Just take a piece of paper, put it over the surface of your cork, take a hot iron, put it under there, and the wax will melt and be absorbed by the paper. That's how you keep it alive. Now, you're going to hear correctly that you want to lay your wax down always from tip to tail. So when you're smoothing your wax out, tip to tail. However, when it's cold out, the wax, it's hard to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and just get friction enough to get enough friction that the wax melts. Can you see that? And you can see how I got some, it's a little bit blotchy. I'm going to rub that until it melts by friction and gets kind of smoothed out. Okay. Now you can see how it's mostly smoothed out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my cork and I'm going to run it down from tip to tail. Okay, I'm going to do that several times because that's going to lay a fish scale pattern down. That's going to lay a fish scale pattern down on these skis. on that wax. And what you'll find is you can actually take, some people do this, they'll take their scarf and they'll drop it on and they'll watch the scarf will flow down one direction, but if you turn your ski upside down and you drop your scarf on it, it doesn't go down. It's a kind of a, I don't know, thing guys do, but the here you can see now that mostly the wax is clear. You see that? That should be good enough. And if it's not, I can always put more wax on. Now let's say that I'm on the trail and this is not enough wax. I'm with a group of people. They don't want to stop for a real long time. Maybe some of them are cold, who knows. But if it's not quite sticky enough, I got to do something fast. What I'll do is I'll grab the next stickiest one up, like purple. And I'm not going to do my whole ski with it or the whole kick area with it. I'll just put it in about maybe 10 inches or 12 inches just underneath the binding where the center of your weight's going to be. Put that on, and that'll usually get you through. So give it a try. Waxing is really an art. You can see that all of these waxes have temperature settings on it. This tells you, you know, for example, in Fahrenheit, 19 degrees Fahrenheit to 9 degrees Fahrenheit. It also has it in Celsius, which is a really good rule. If you stick to those, you'll do all right. But if you're out and you can look at the snow, you can give it a kick, see if it's wet or if it's fluffy, and choose your waxes that way, it'll be a lot better. You will gain that through experience. Enjoy, go out and do some skiing, and tell me how it goes.